Welcome to the off season and welcome back to the Buck Sports channel. And here is the FFL off season schedule. I want to just say thank you for making seasons 13 and 14 my most watched seasons of my whole YouTube time here. Really, the last two seasons have been great. Thank you guys for watching and supporting. If you want to drop a like and subscribe, 70% of you all are not subscribed, so please subscribe, leave a like. And here we are, starting with the available free agents. Then we're going to jump to the FFL awards, and then we're going to show some trades, then the draft, and then some trades after the draft, and then the total moves will be every single team showing who they got through the draft, free agency, and UDFA. The only thing I didn't show was the trades this year, but since we're going through them and there's not really many to keep up with, so it will be pretty easy. Also, this will act as a little update because usually I just jump right into the next season after these off-season videos. If you guys haven't seen any of them before, these tend to not show gameplay. In the future I will want them to, but as you saw with last video, we saw the championship game between the Tigers and the Warthogs. And here, we're going to see every other team has done this offseason. Now, let's jump into it first with the available free agents. The free agents haven't changed at all. We saw at the end of our season with the Cavalry, I showed the upcoming free agents. And, like I said, nothing has changed. Also, you saw a slightly different list of free agents coming out, especially when it came to the commissioner release program through my Discord, which starting halfway through the season, I started posting weekly news of the season through there as well to try to flesh out this league. And so, like I said, nothing has really changed. All we do know is the Revolution tagged All-Star future Hall of Famer D-tackle Donnie Perry. Demons tag tight end Carlos Moroncola. Then Tigers and Blackbirds both used their tags on Brian Jackson, guard, and free safety Jakeem Kelly. Now, the commissioner release program, we've discussed Evan McCarthy wants to leave the Wolves and will, due to the fact that he's been there for so long. You know, he came out of high school, went right to his hometown team, Sacramento, and he's gone through 3 different head coaches, 7 different offensive schemes, and even though he's had his best season in quite a while with the Wolves this year, he wants to be gone. Honestly, I think he just wants to break, and I think for a team that can maybe use him kind of here and there, or more of a, you know, take a break and work on your skills, I think would be great, and maybe a more winning team as well. Quarterback Al Frills wants to leave the Lightning due to the fact that he wants to be a backup. He says he's too old to carry a team to rebuild around him, and that's fine. Quarterback Terrence the Cannon Thomas left the Firebirds due to some awful coaching that has actually been fired since he's left. He also did look a little shaky with the Firebirds, but he's going to definitely get a better chance since there's so many quarterback openings this season. Tight end Angel Lopez is looking to change his position. The Monarchs wanted him to stay at tight end, even though they don't really use a tight end, and he just wants a chance to play more to show his ability. Linebacker Torrin Black is done with the flight due to the fact that he didn't want to be on the flight in the first place and then making the championship, then losing, and then this year not even making the playoffs. I think he has a bad taste in his mouth. And then Malik Cloud, a shocking defection from the Lightning. He went there, and he, even though he doesn't have a lot of interceptions, he doesn't have a lot of pass deflections, people have said that his zone coverage is one of the best in the league. That the fact that he's worked on his ability to be aggressive when playing the ball, and the fact that Malik Cloud, who used to be picked on all the time, now is barely even being played against. And he was a solid force for the Lightning, but to be honest, I think he wants to go out and be on a better team that's not going to be rebuilding for the next 4.5 years. So that is the available free agents. Now, let's jump into the awards this season. Welcome to the awards section of the video. We're going to start off with MVP. It was very, very weird this season. There was a bunch of good quarterbacks, but the fact is a lot of them didn't go that far into the playoffs. So you go, well, about receiver, what about running back? And the problem is there was two amazing running backs that could have easily got MVP. Darren Morris and Jordan from the Warhawks. But the problem is both those teams didn't do well this season, except for the Warhogs. But again, for an MVP, Jordan got stopped a lot in the playoffs. So, what do? With all these great quarterbacks, so they battled them out, and only one quarterback is MVP this season, and that will be the Chicago Tigers starting quarterback. He is electric. David Electric Johnson is named MVP for the first time, I believe, in his career. He is an amazing quarterback. Basically, just for the fact that he has the speed that a lot of quarterbacks wish they had. He's not top tier. He's not like a J.C. Riley. He's not a Jackson Thomas even. But he is a solid quarterback when it comes to athleticism. And for a quarterback who came out of college as a pretty much offensive threat, which means they like to just run the ball a lot with him. He would scramble a lot. A guy who, he didn't hit developmental. He literally came from college before we stopped allowing that. But Electric Johnson, he looked to be horrible, and everyone wondered why the Chicago Tigers picked him up. Well, this is why. Apparently, he was a good passer and no one knew it. And he's been working on it year after year after year. And almost him alone brought the Chicago Tigers a championship, which is pretty impressive. Now, can he repeat? Can he even repeat the season he just had? Maybe. The fact is we've changed the sliders a little bit. We changed actually attributes so defenders can't make crazy every defender can't make a crazy play on the ball. So attributes might be stats might be boosted. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen this season, and we might have to revamp a lot of things. But Electric Johnson with MVP. Now, Offensive Player of the Year is very weird. It's quarterback Neve Watts. Now, why is that? Well, Darren Morris could have easily been Offensive Player of the Year, and he pretty much should have been. But the problem is that near the end of the year, he was slowing down and getting stopped a lot. And you looked at the play from Boston, Reed Weathers was outplaying him near the end of the season. So you look at quarterback Neve Watts. He led quarterbacks in rushing with over 1,000 yards. Him and J.C. Riley were going back and forth. But even at his age of 34, going to be turning 35 here soon, it's very impressive. And the fact is he's the most accurate quarterback in the league somehow. He jumped out to a huge start, and he defeated everyone accuracy-wise by 6 points of accuracy, which is insane. Neve Watts at his age should be declining when, yeah, he may be slower. Yeah, he may be not as strong as he used to be. But he is becoming accurate with the ball, and that is super impressive for a quarterback of his age who was basically a offensive playmaker for most of his career. Now, we're going to jump and we're going to show two of them, two award winners. First, we have Defensive Player of the Year and then Rookie of the Year. The reason why I'm showing them both at the same time, other than I messed up the card, is the fact that they're also both on defense. Defensive Player of the Year is free safety Henry Kinder. He is the best free safety we've ever seen, and last year I believe he won Rookie of the Year, if I remember correctly, and Defensive Player of the Year. He comes in, he can hit hard, he's a little undersized, he can play zone, he's a good ball hawk. He is a perfect free safety. The only thing he's missing is height, but he makes up with that with the amount of jumping ability he does have. And then Rookie of the Year is Leonard Selvey. He came in and he is destroying offenses with the Crusaders and pretty much brought the Crusaders defense up a whole nother notch. If you want to see a guy play, watch the Crusaders, because Leonard Selvey, he's on an island of his own, and it's pretty impressive to see what he's doing. But now, let's look at the last one, Comeback Player of the Year. This one was a hard one. We had a lot of people come back from injuries. We had a lot of people come back, and next year it's going to be even crazier. But only one guy came back from a, minor injury. But he had 2 years of less production coming into this season. He gets let go. He gets picked up last free agency by Boston, and he comes out and he leads the league in rushing, and that's running back Darren Morris. He has the speed, the strength, the agility. He is absolutely amazing at running back, and the fact that he does have Reed Weathers, who led last year and was also, I believe, Comeback Player of the Year, if I remember correctly. This offense is crazy. They have 2 Hall of Fame status running backs, okay? And they have budget receivers who are talented as hell, especially because a lot of them were former tight ends. It's pretty impressive to see, but now let's look at the trades before the draft. There's not many of them, but a lot of them are very significant. In other years, we've had trades up and down, left and right, like crazy. But this year, we only have 3 trades, which is very significant because I think that a lot of teams nowadays, they want to get a lot of people in undrafted free agency, and really the draft is for like the top of the top. And the problem with this draft class is that there really isn't a lot of the top of top players. And we look here, the first one was the Wolves and the Bullheads. The Wolves had two picks this season. They trade both of them, and their season 16 pick, which is in 2 years, to go up to number 2 this year, which is insane. Then the Wolves also trade their star receiver Milford Stewart and a season 18 pick to get the Guardians season 14 pick. So they're back at 2 picks this season, but they now also have the number 2 pick, which is crazy. And then lastly, the Tigers and the Lightning. The Tigers trade their season 14 pick this year for free safety Angel Givens, a Lightning season 15 pick, and a Lightning season 17 pick, because the Lightning weren't going to have a pick this year since they've traded in the past. But that also means next year, if I remember correctly, if I'm looking at my notes, they have 4 picks next year. They're going to own the draft. Every team that's owned a draft like that has become a dynasty. Look at the Dragons. They got a star CB in Sidney Foster and a star Hall of Fame linebacker in Nick McCarthy in their draft, where they had 4 picks. Or I think it was 5 after some trades. But now, let's look into the draft as we continue into the offseason. And now with the draft, the first pick is held by the Bullheads, and they really need someone on offense. Their defense is pretty good. I think they might need to get some better players in the future, but their offense is lacking horribly. Now, what can they do? I think there's really one pick they should make, but will they? They pick running back Isaac Taylor Johnson. He's a 6'3", 240-pound running back. He's powerful, and he has the speed to break away. Johnson is a very solid back coming from developmental, where he's won a couple championships the last few years. And on top of that, he comes from a very known family in the FFL. He is a stud, a blue chip prospect, and he's going to Miami. What a big pick for Miami as they try to change their offense. Now with the pick with the Wolves, they pick up quarterback Jamie Brooks. In developmental, he has shown that even though he may be a little skittish in the pocket and maybe run too early, his arm talent is elite. He's got to come into the league as one of the best quarterbacks, at least top 10, and he's going to be as fast enough to run away from sacks and athletic enough to make plays that no quarterback else can make. The only issue is he is young, and he is the only quarterback really worth in this draft. Did the Wolves hit? We're going to have to see, especially with such a big hole for quarterback for the Wolves. Now at pick number 3, the Sailors pick up linebacker Carrion Max Attack. He's one of the best pass rushers to come out in a very long time. And on top of that, he's one of the few people that would break the idea that this draft class is bad. It's not that it's a horrible draft class, it's just that it's not that deep. Carrion Max has got to come out as one of the best pass rushers in the league. The problem is he's going to the Sailors, who want him at linebacker. So he's splitting time, rushing the quarterback and playing zone. Now he did show that he could play zone if he really wanted to, but I almost feel like they have too many pass rushers, especially for a 3-4, and it's going to be hard to try to get Rashad Gavin and Messick and him and everyone time to play, and Anthony Bonds. It's going to be kind of rough to see, but I think with Max being so young, it's going to be very impressive to see what the Sailors do here. Now, at number 4 is the Minneapolis Walleyes picking up defensive end Riley Rush. We saw his brother Ridley Rush become one of the best UDFAs to come out ever, and now his younger brother Riley Rush coming out here. They're basically twins. They're not that far apart, only 10 months apart in age, and Riley Rush is huge, and he's really good at stopping the run, which is a big problem the Walleyes have constantly had. Now, their defense is shockingly looking scary, so we're going to have to see what they can do with all these really big pieces on defense. And as playing Boston, we do face the Walleyes this year, and the Sailors, and the Wolves, and Isaiah Johnson. So it's going to be pretty cool to see all these great young players in their element and see who is a bust and who is not. Now the next player on the list is number 5. Offensive guard Riley Knott for the San Antonio Bears. The Bears are kind of weird. They're slowly getting better year after year after year after being probably the worst team of all time, where I believe they went 0-16. Now, they have a decent quarterback, they have a really good coach, they have a good offense, and they do need a guard. But the problem is not just their offense, it's their defense. They can score points, it's just that they can't stop any team. And when you have a guy like Jones on the defensive line, who is a great pass rusher, but the rest of the D-line sucks, your linebackers aren't that great, you can't just rely on okay coverage and just hoping that your offense can score more points. So it's kind of shocking that at number 5 they pick up Riley Knott, who is not the best guard in the class, that he's basically a slotted starter at best. Good at pass blocking, okay at run blocking, not super strong. It's just kind of silly to see him go at number 5, though, and this does give the idea, though, that this class is not that deep, that a guy like Riley Knott is being picked at number 5. But now, let's go to number 6. The Blackbirds select Stanley Triplett. Now, he is not the best wide receiver in the class, but he's one of the fastest wide receivers in the class. There is a wide receiver that I mocked to the Blackbirds in Trent Frost, who is a big, tall receiver, something they kind of need and kind of like. But the problem is he's probably the best receiver in the class. He's just has really bad injury history. So I see why the Blackbirds don't want any part of that. Especially, there was a sign-in trade for their now new quarterback Mike Fine, who's the backup quarterback for Bryce O'Connell with the Brooklyn Hawks. So they want to get him probably a faster receiver, since Fine likes faster receivers that can separate down the field deep because of his big arm. And so they get Stanley Triplett, who's one of the best, faster, deep threat receivers. But is it worth it for the Blackbirds when there's so much other talent on the board? Only time will tell with this pick. But now number 7. And now in another weird pick in a row, the Philadelphia Revolution, who have one of the best defenses in the league, grab cornerback Delaney Blunt. He's one of the most project CBs in this draft. He's 6'3", slightly over 200 pounds. In the future, he could play safety for them, but right now they probably gonna have him on the outside. He does give some height and slight speed advantages from what they have now in John Thompson. But Delaney Blunt's coverage ability and agility is pretty low. So it's kind of weird that they're doing this and not getting another pass rusher, another linebacker, anyone on offense. So let's see what number 8 and 9, who are both the Bullheads, let's see what they pick in these two next picks. Their phenomenal draft continues, first of all, with CB Eddie Cruz. He is the best defensive player in this draft other than Kerryon Max. He has amazing coverage ability, good speed, and good agility. Now his issue is people are stating that even though he's gotten better in developmental, he probably should have stayed another year. But he wanted to be able to be drafted, since next year there might be a lot of really good cornerbacks in the draft who are all golds or silvers. So Eddie Cruz wants to come out now so he can get paid a little bit more and maybe go to a slightly more off team. And the Bullheads are just stacking picks right now and stacking this defense. And like I said, with Eddie Cruz, he is phenomenal, but did he come out a little too early? We're going to have to see how the Bullheads do. But this defense does fit Cruz very well, being able to play man and zone. And he's okay at tackling. So only time will tell to see if Eddie Cruz was really worth it. Then we have to look at their second pick in a row with number 9 in free safety Josh McEnroe. He was almost one of the top 5 draft picks in this league, or in this draft I should say, potential wise. He does lack a lot of speed at the free safety position and lacks agility, but he's the hardest hitting safety coming out of developmental. That's why his nickname is Lights Out. He's known for knocking out offensive players and his own teammates by accident. This is how strong this safety is. He should be playing D-end. He should be playing linebacker with how strong he is, but he's playing free safety, so if the ball's even near him, the receiver has to be careful with Josh McEnroe just lighting up the board across the field. But next, we look at number 10, and it's wide receiver Ladarius McDuffie. He's one of the best receivers in this draft, probably right under Trent Frost, who still has not been picked yet. He's still falling, and it looks like he might not even be drafted, which is incredibly insane. But Ladarius McDuffie is a great red zone threat receiver, which is exactly what the Firebirds want. They, you will see soon, picked up Casey Smith in free agency, who's one of the best wide receivers in the league when it comes to using his height as a very big advantage. So to have Ladarius McDuffie and Smith, that is incredible for this new Firebirds team that is going through a rebuild currently. But the Firebirds could be coming up good soon already. Now, for the Hogs, they pick up quarterback Holden Vandervelde. He is an amazing pocket passing quarterback who has a massive arm. He's also 6'7". He's a lot like Richie Hung, who they lost to the Firebirds. But Hung is now also the coach for the Firebirds. So the Hogs got their basically Hall of Fame quarterback from years ago to be their new head coach. And he's looking like he wants to get a new quarterback with Holden Vandervelde joining the team. Now, he's probably better than their current quarterback they got in free agency, DJ Parker, who we'll be going into later. But Holden Vandervelde is still very young, but probably one of the best pure passers in this draft, especially with the height that he does have. But next, we have to look at the flight and who they pick up. They pick up at number 12, linebacker Miles Beckert. They lost their all-star linebacker in free agency. And now they pick up another one in Beckert. He's a hard-hitting middle linebacker. The thing is, he does lack in zone coverage. So this defense is starting to look a little worse for wear, and the Flight are probably looking into making a rebuild here soon if it doesn't continue well for them. They are in one of the hardest divisions, with the Gladiators fighting for a championship every year, the Dragons fighting for a championship every year, and the Hogs, who are currently in a mid-rebuild type weird situation. And now the Firebirds come back up at number 13. They pick up D-tackle Luke Britton, who's a solid nose tackle, who the Firebirds are going to be running a 3-4, and they did trade away their top linebackers. So Luke Britton's going to be coming in, and since they did lose Del McHugh, who's a future Hall of Fame D-tackle, he has a lot of big shoes to fill, but can he bring more production than Del McHugh ever did for the Firebirds? And now the draft is coming to a point where we're seeing basically players who do have good attributes, but the fact is they're going to have to start because they're going to have to, and they really shouldn't. And that's going to be free safety Rashad Trufant. He has some good agility. I think when the ball is thrown, he can be good at ball hawking at times. He has okay coverage. His tackling is a little lackluster, and to be honest, he doesn't have elite speed, but it's not like they can move him to strong safety and have him come down to the box. So the Hawks kind of spin out here at this pick because they really needed a linebacker or just anyone really. In free safety, they probably could have picked someone up in free agency. So Rashad Trufant at number 14. Now next, D-tackle Star Rogers goes to the Walleyes. He was not supposed to be coming out in this year's draft, but he surprised everyone at workouts with our little combine that we do, and he was extremely strong and extremely quick, especially for the size that Star Rogers is, and the Walleyes pick him up at 15. He probably could have went undrafted, but the fact is, the next 5 or so picks, he could have went to any other team, especially number 20, which is the Monarchs, and they needed a D-tackle, but with Star Rogers off, I don't know who they can get. There's only one other player, but I don't see him being drafted due to his size. But Star Rogers here at 15 shows that even in a lackluster draft, you could get some decent talent. And the Walleyes are still trying to build this defense, so it's going to be impressive. And we face them this year, so let's see what they can do. At number 16, the Stallions pick up CB Emerson McKinley. Now, McKinley has decent coverage skills, and he's decently athletic. But the fact is I don't think he's anywhere near Eddie Cruz or has the potential like Blunt. The Stallions do have a good defense, but their defense is not perfect. And the fact is their coach, who I really like in Brady Vaughn, Hall of Fame running back, it just doesn't seem like they're really trying that hard. And I understand this draft is really difficult because it's not like every player is a home run, but they could have easily picked anybody else. Even picked a safety like Rashad Trufant and CB. If he fell to them, if the Hawks traded, something. But the Stallions at this point kind of get bad pick for number 16. Let's see what number 17 will bring us. And now the rumors have come to pass, as the Lightning, who were not even in this draft, trade to get back into the draft to pick up guard Michael Jordan Thomas. Now, Thomas, if that's a familiar name, it should be. He's related to Terrence Thomas, the Cannon quarterback, who's now on a new team. He was with the Firebirds, and years ago he was with the Bullheads and the Walleyes. And also, he's related to Jackson Thomas, the Boston Cavalry quarterback. He is Jackson Thomas's brother, I believe. They're not very friendly with each other due to Jackson Thomas and Terrence Thomas kind of moving away from the family together to get just away from the toxic situation that was going on. There will be more going into that. But he goes to the Lightning, and you know what? He is one of the strongest guards in this class. It's surprising he didn't get picked number 5, maybe due to some of those toxic family reasons. But the Lightning are very lucky to get Michael Jordan Thomas. Now, number 18, the Wolves finally picked again, and they get linebacker Adrian Parsons. That's a horrible pick. I'm just going to be straight up. I don't know what they're trying to do here. Yes, they get a new quarterback. Fine. But then they get Adrian Parsons, who is a undrafted free agent potential, like, generic player who's barely going to fulfill a spot on that team. And yes, they lose a very fan favorite linebacker that's been there for years, and they replace him with Adrian Parsons, who's a good tackler, and that's pretty much it. He's not good at zone. They run, I believe, a 4-3 if I remember correctly. So like, he just doesn't fit, and I don't understand why they picked him here. They could have got someone else. They probably could have waited, but they got Adrian Parsons. And then at number 19, another former team of ours, the San Francisco Dragons, they pick up wide receiver Trent Frost. Now, he did fall all the way due to injury concerns, but the rumors are that he's passed every medical assessment and that knee is good and his brain is good from the concussions he did suffer in developmental. He's a tall, big wide receiver, and he's going to be coming in as a top 10 receiver in the league from the start. They lose Jaquan Oregon in free agency, a big speedster, but they'll replace him with another speedster, and now they have a good possession threat, another one, with wide receiver Trent Frost. So the Dragons are looking very good, especially in the passing game for J.C. Riley. That's incredible to see from the Dragons. And the last pick of the draft is a D tackle. I'm actually surprised he got picked. Big Bubba Holmes. Now, he's also going to be a Ironman player. He's going to be a fullback for the team, for the Monarchs as well. Daniil Holmes from the Discord. Big Bubba. He was one of the last players to actually get in under the line, basically. He's 7 feet tall, 400 pounds. He was the only player to out-rep Star Rogers in strength, and he did it by 10 reps. He is incredible. As you see in the picture, he's blocking a defender in practice with one hand. Daniil Holmes is insane. He just destroys players. They say that he could actually play offensive tackle as well, but they're going to leave him on defense and just at fullback when they need him. But Big Bubba is here to stay. I'm very surprised he got picked, especially due to him being 7 feet tall. And lastly here, we're going to look at the trades before we go to the total moves. Our Boston Cavalry trade our tight end Smoochie Wallace to the Bears for Monte Bryant and a season 16 pick because Cameron Skullone, our coach, is going to be moving to a 3 wide receiver system. And lastly, Tiny Smith from the Flight, who's a star linebacker, is going to the Revolution for 2 picks for season 17 and linebacker Noble Golden. And then here we are with the offseason moves. Free agency for the Bullheads, they pick up Addison Hansen, who was our former wide receiver. It's impressive to see him go to the Bullheads. He's going to be used very well there. Drafting wise, they have Isaac Taylor Johnson, Eddie Cruz, and Lights Out McEnroe. We saw that. And then UDFA, they pick up wide receiver Parker Worrell, who's a solid backup receiver. He's going to be their 3rd or 4th. And the backup quarterback is Tommy Sotomayor from the Discord as well. He was one of the first players added from the Discord this season. The Bullheads are in the midst of the rebuild, but they're looking pretty good. A trade that was not shown on any of the pictures, since this happens after all this has happened, is the fact that the Bullheads trade their CB Corey Mills due to him being loud about wanting to leave, and he's now with the Cavalry, so we don't know exactly what's going on. Now, the big name receiver in this free agent class, Jaquan Oregon, the speedster, goes to the Wolves. He was sick and tired of the Dragons. He would have top receiving yards every year and top receptions every year, but the fact is they're trying to get away from him and try to go to some of their smaller, even faster players, especially because Oregon has kind of, dropped down a little bit. Backup quarterback returning to the league from developmentals, Dominic Bailey. They drafted Jamie Brooks and Adrian Parsons. And then UDFA, they have Lacey London, Philip Mankins, Dre Jervy, JC Galloway, Javari Barnes, and Josh Torres, who all pretty much aren't that big of names. So we're just going to jump to Seattle. They, in free agency, get Rashad Gavin and Adam Noble. Gavin off a loss in the championship game, and Adam Noble is sick and tired of Las Vegas, and he gets to leave and go to Seattle. They pick Carey and Max, we saw that, and then UDFA, they get Marcel Carey, Jaren Drake as a backup running back, he's pretty solid, and then Quinteris Connor, who is just going to be a solid starter for them on day 1. But quarterback TJ Waller is finally coming into the league. He is a former offensive playmaker who has been trying to develop more of his passing game. He has a really good arm for a backup quarterback. So just in case their starter gets hurt, they at least have TJ Waller who can also run the same type of offense. But again, not a great offseason for them. I would say so far the Bullheads have the best. Walleyes. Now, they get free agent DN Ted Calhoun, who's undersized at 230 pounds, but he's fast. And then they also pick up wide receiver Rashawn Burns, I believe from the Tigers, but Monarchs. I believe he's from the Monarchs. From the draft, we saw they picked Riley Rush and Star Rogers, which really fills out that their whole defensive line is going to be insane. And then UDFA, they pick up Ronaldo Tam, who backup. He's not going to be a great guy on the team. But Burns is a speed threat. Ted Calhoun is a speed threat off the edge. Riley Rush is a great run stopper. And Star Rogers is a good run stopper. I would still say Bullheads have the best offseason when it comes to quality. But Walleyes are coming up there as number 2 when it comes to best off seasons. The next off season we're going to look at is the Bears. One of the shortest, but probably one of the best for their team. Now, they have Riley Knott in draft. We saw that. And they pick up Hunter Fowler, who's a former Sacramento Wolves quarterback who went to developmental and came back, and he's going to be a backup. But we look here, wide receiver Matt Barker finally gets a chance. He was with the Gladiators, and a lot of his receptions, like he had a good amount of receptions, but he led the league for 2 years in average yards per reception. He was very solid, and the fact is now he's on a team that will try to get him the ball, and he's right across from the best receiver to play all time in Hilton Caskey, so he can learn and grow as a receiver. So this deep threat could actually get really good at route running. Now, they do have the smallest, but good quality, I would say, but Bullheads is still the best. And then lastly, we're going to look at the Blackbirds and the Revolution. The Blackbirds they got free agent wide receiver Michael Ingram, who is a underachieving first pick, or I don't think he was a first pick, but definitely like high up there for the Walleyes years ago. And he goes to the Blackbirds. They need some speed on offense, and they also pick up Stanley Triplett, who is incredible. Earlier in the video, I did say that another trade that was not shown was Mike Fine going to the Blackbirds. So he's going to be their starting quarterback. He has a good arm, and he holds the record for most interceptions thrown in a single season. That was the first season I had with the Dragons. You could go back there, I believe it's season 8. But he's going to be playing with the Blackbirds and have speed out there. And then lastly, real quick, the Revolution, they get Rashawn Huntley and Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons comes back. Delaney Blunt, we've already talked about, and Huntley is a solid starter. Next, the Firebirds. They get, like I said, wide receiver Casey Smith, who's the second best receiver in this class of free agents. They get quarterback/coach Richie Hung from the Discord, and offensive tackle Harlan Hwang, who they're going to move the guard, which is a big revelation. That offensive line is going to be stacked, and they get Luke Britton. So anyway, Firebirds are going to be pretty good and a lot better, I think, than they were even last year. The Hogs, they pick up DJ Parker, David Harris from the Guardians, all in free agency, draft Holden Vandervelde, and then UDFA, they get Vlad Simpson, Trenton Teague, and wide receiver Deacon Moss. Now, if you guys were on the Discord, I have already told this story, so here we go. DJ Parker was a big pick years ago, and he was a rookie the very first season. And then he quit, he became a pastor, and then he actually saved Deacon Moss from going to jail, or he was actually in jail for 4 years, and then with the help of DJ Parker, they found him not guilty. And so Deacon Moss found his love for the game again with DJ Parker, and now they're both on the same team with the Ohio Hawks. And then next, the Flight draft linebacker Miles Beckert, which we saw, and then UDFA, they pick up Zach Kaufman, who, CBPL Slaughter, who's okay, and DN Jawan Moody, who is a solid pick as a UDFA, but he's going to need some help, just trying to become better and try to help this Flight team, but the Flight are not looking that great and might need to just go through a rebuild instead of trying to reload every season. Next is the Hawks. They pick up DN Rashad Ford. He was one of the best pass rushers to be in this free agent class. The problem was he was with the Dynasty for quite a few years, and he never really had a lot of good seasons. He got a lot of pressures on quarterbacks, but he never got a lot of sacks. And I think it's because they mostly didn't blitz, and they mostly, he was kind of doing contains and not really blitzing. They also got D-tackle Del McHugh. They drafted Rashad Trufant, who we talked about. They also got running back, I believe, Terrion Reynolds, and then quarterback Kiefer Jeffries, who was a big pick. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in developmental history, and he's going to be sitting behind O'Connell. Now the Stallions, they pick up CB Emerson McKinley. UDFA, they pick up Desmond Damon and Emmanuel Dunlap. Now Damon is special. He's a former offensive playmaker, which is what I call a quarterback, who's really known for running and not passing. And he can pretty much do everything. Well, for years, he wasn't being able to come into the league at quarterback, so he decided to become a running back. And he led the developmental in receptions for 3 years in a row. So now he's here with the Stallions, who actually record some of the most receptions for running backs. So that's pretty awesome. The Lightning, they get Amonte Hill, who's a young star receiver who is on the way to becoming a gold receiver. Free safety Rogic Varola, he is going to be a good veteran presence on this defense. Draft guard Michael Jordan Thomas, we talked about. And then UDFA, they pick up quarterback Nathan Reckon Crew, who is a cool, different quarterback. He's a scrambler, but he's not that fast. He has an okay arm. And for him to try to challenge Drew Lowry is weird, but, you know, he really shouldn't have been even been a UDFA. He should have had a couple more years, but it's going to be interesting to see him on the Lightning. The Dragons, they pick up free agent tight end Ronald O'Shea, who said he only has a few more years and he's going back to his hometown in San Francisco where it all started. They drafted wide receiver Trent Frost, who's probably one of the best receivers, if not best receivers, in the draft. And then UDFA, they pick up linebacker Rashad Bullock to be on the other side of Nick McCarthy. Bullock is a good zone coverage linebacker who could also tackle extremely well. And I think they might even move him in the middle, so he's out there with McCarthy a lot more. So the Dragons got even better than they already were. You look at the Monarchs, they get wide receiver Casey Griffin, which is awesome. He was a former Bears wide receiver, great route runner, great hands. They also got Big Bubba Holmes, who we talked about, CB Kalon Weldon, and tight end Thomas Jeff. Now, the Monarchs, they're good. They really are. And they have some spectacular players coming up, especially the franchise's two sons. One plays quarterback, one plays wide receiver and CB. And then there's there's rumors, I should say, that his third son, Junior, is going to be coming out next season at running back. So that's going to be cool to see if he goes to the Monarchs as well. Now, the Dynasty free agent, they pick up quarterback Terrence the Cannon Thomas, and we actually face him this year. So it's all about if Jackson Thomas can get his stuff situated, and he'll face his uncle, Terrence Thomas. And then we're going to look at a surprise DN talent in Jamison Slay. Now, people could say, why would you get rid of Rashad Ford and then pick up Jamison Slay when they don't use undersized DNs well? They get a lot of pressure but don't get a lot of sacks. They suck at, defending the run. But Jamison Slay is actually good at defending the run due to the fact that he does have even more speed than Rashad Ford. He may not have the agility, but he does have more speed. And the fact is he can spin move, he can swim. He's very special, and it's going to be cool to see. And then lastly, we have Tuashe and then Oscar Kaysen at wide receiver. And then lastly, the Demons on this page, they pick up CB, now moving to free safety, Wes McNeil. He's already going to be going into the Hall of Fame with the current career he's had, with whether he was with the Dynasty, whether he was with the Hawks, I believe. No, Flight. He was with the Flight for many years, but he goes to the Demons. And then linebacker Torrin Black leaves the Flight as well to go to the Demons, and he's a starting middle linebacker who's gonna beast. And then they also pick up a UDFA, one of the best receivers in UDFA, Brendan Medlock, who is a undersized slot receiver who they're going to try to use a lot in the three wide receiver sets they like to use. And the Demons are already looking like their rebuild is working out really well, especially with backup quarterback Glenn Riggs. The last page here, we have the Revenge. They have probably one of the worst off seasons, and an amazing tight end, Scotty McCain. He can block okay, and he's an amazing receiving threat. They lose one, but they gain one. And then DN Noah Pilgrim. He should play linebacker. He's actually lighter than Ted Calhoun. Calhoun's like 230. Noah Pilgrim's like not even 6 foot or barely 6 foot, and he's like 200 pounds. He needs to play linebacker. But they have him at D end, and he's going to use his supreme speed and his spin move that he's known for to try to get some pressures. And then we're going to look at the Warthogs next. So far, I'd still say the Bullheads probably have the best offseason other than the Dragons. But the Warhogs here, they get Al Frills as their backup quarterback. And then UDFA-wise, they have free safety Emmanuel Calhoun. And here he is, Rashawn Kiwi Kiwanuka. He, as you guys saw, if you're on the Discord, he did have a weekly story about him. Long story short, he was kicked off the team due to personal issues involving being arrested. And he was actually better than Carrion Max, sacks, and pressure-wise in developmental. They were racing to see who could break the sack record. Neither of them did, but for a while there, Kiwi was actually ahead of him, and it took him being gone for 4 weeks for Max to reach the same amount of pressures and sacks. So he is an amazing player, and he's going on one of the best teams in the league. What a good thing going on there for the Warhawks. The Crusaders have a pretty lackluster offseason with picking up wide receiver Tyjan Deloach and D-tackle Dante Lawson, who's just kind of filling a hole. The Crusaders are all in. You know, they gave up all 4 of their picks this season to get people. They actually traded 2 picks this year, I believe, for Denny Parr and Justin Jones at linebacker. They don't have a lot of holes. So, in all, I mean, the Crusaders are probably number 3 when it comes to maybe getting a championship this year. It just depends on how good they can play. But that's the question. How good can they really play? Yeah, it's just weird to see the Crusaders are going all in. Ezra Starr's starting to kind of fall off just a tad. Running back Angel Akins is starting to run out a little bit. And now the Gladiators, they have some serious holes. Wide receiver Ty Hill is UDFA. Wide receiver Kenyon Knight should have been drafted. He's one of the fastest receivers in this class. And then we're going to quickly talk about Eric Rivera, who's just a good tackler, taking over for Denny Mays. But lastly here, we have a little bit of time to tell you guys, if you've been around lately, I've been trying to tell this story, but I haven't really gotten to it yet. So real quick, their starting quarterback, JT Perkins, is out for basically the whole season. He got back surgery really late in the offseason. So their quarterback here, Buck Fanica, is starting. And the fact is he has a better arm than JT Perkins. So if Rick Tempest can mold this offense around Buck Fanica, that might be really scary, and the Gladiators might make a championship run with a young quarterback. Now the Guardians, they pick up running back Martell Franklin and CB Malik Cloud, which is awesome. Martell Franklin leaves the Hawks to go to a rival in the Guardians, and Cloud goes from the Lightning. And here, their UDFA pick is running back Dominic Branch, who is one of the best power running backs, except for Isaac Taylor Johnson. And Branch isn't as fast as him, nor is he as strong as him, but the fact is he's the same height and slightly less weight, and is slightly younger, I believe. So the Guardians have a really good running back backfield in New York, and their secondary just got better. So we have to face the Guardians twice a year, and Eve Watts has shown even more growth as a quarterback, becoming one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. Now we look at the championship winning Tigers. They have some openings, and Shane Gilbert, who's actually really underrated as a speed threat, and they pick up DJ Towns as backup running back. They don't have a lot of holes. Their possible future Hall of Famer wide receiver Davon Kenny, who's a former Wolves player as well. He went over in a trade years ago, like year 3 or year 6, something like that. He just won a championship, so that's awesome for him. But other than that and Law retiring at running back, those are the only holes they had. Now, some players did come down in overall, like due to progression and just not playing well. But still, the Tigers are solid. And lastly, we're going to look at our team, the Boston Cavalry. In free agency, they pick up tight end Angel Lopez, who was drafted last year to the Monarchs. And he had an okay season, but they use a fullback more than their tight end. And the fact is they were going to maybe move Angel Lopez to wide receiver, but they weren't really sure, and he wanted out of there, and he got his release, and he goes to Boston becoming a wide receiver. And then we bring in Evan McCarthy as well as a star quarterback who could have started anywhere else. And then we look at 50 Cal Herbert. He is a linebacker who's going to be moving to D-end for us. He's going to be moving to where Donald used to be because we traded him to the Lightning. It's going to be very impressive to see how Cal Herbert can take up space because he's a big guy. And then real quick, like I said, Cal Herbert, Evan McCarthy, running MC. And then we got running back Sean White from the Discord. Super speedy. He could have been an Olympic runner. Super fast, almost as fast as Jordan James. And then wide receiver Xavier Gonzalez is another former offensive playmaker quarterback, but he was a good quarterback, but he decided a couple years ago to move to receiver / running back, and so we might actually use him at running back sometimes, but mostly he's going to be our third wide receiver due to his size and his speed being 6'3" or 6'4". And then to match Corey Mills, we got Ralph White, who's a speedster. He's good at man coverage, and we're going to try to develop his zone coverage a little more so we can run some more coverages. And then D-tackle Teron Upshaw. He's big, he has a lot of size, but he lacks average strength. He doesn't match average strength. He's a little lower. He has short arms. He actually really can't get a lot of leverage with the short arms because he's so tall. So we're not really sure exactly. Upshaw's just a backup. He's going to come in when people are tired. So the Boston Cavalry are up there, but I still think the Bullheads had the best offseason when it comes to getting 3 star players, a new wide receiver. It's very, very good. And now we're going to finish the video here. So there's going to be some updates. Like I said, some trades I'm going to put up on the Discord tonight that I kind of mentioned here. And I'm going to run through some of the stories I mentioned here. And just in general, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with a new video. Peace.